Okay.
Hi, Karl.
Hi,
Nice to
Anthony.
meet
How are
you.
you?
I'm
Yeah.
doing good. How are you?
Yeah, we're doing okay. We're locked down again here, so staying indoors at the moment, but that's all right.
Yeah, it's happening out here in British Columbia, Canada. It's we're gone back to the masks and
Yeah, no, we're back to that again at the moment.
yeah.
It'll pass, I hope.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to thank you for joining me, and I'd like to thank John Asher here, and he's in Montreal, but he was the one who kind of originally set this up. So
Mhm.
I'd like to thank him as well.
Yeah, no, well, thanks for the opportunity. Always good to talk.
Yeah. Now, you guys started back in 1983, but my research has found that the last time you guys actually performed together as a band was in 2012.
Well, actually, we've done a couple of gigs since then. The last time we played was, we don't think this is the cause of the COVID virus, but it was only a couple of weeks before it broke. So start of 2020. Is that right? I forget what you were in now. Yeah. February 2020, just at the start of February, we played a gig in another state here. We hadn't been to South Australia for nearly 20 years. We got the chance to go there to play at a festival. So we headed over there and we played a gig, and then about the next week, everything went into lockdown. So I think it's a coincidence.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, we played a few times. We played in Japan in 2015. But yeah, we're, especially the last 18 months, there's no gigging happening at all.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
And then it's just you and the drummer, his name, pronounced it Sham.
Yep, Sham, that's right.
You guys,
Yeah.
you're the only two original founding members, or?
Yeah, no, that's true. That's right. Just the way it's panned out over the years. One of the guitarists lives in the original guitarist. He lives in the US now, and the other one moved to out in the bush. He's living nowhere near the big city anymore. So they're well out of the mix, and so we had to replace people as years have rolled by and lives change and people move on. But yeah, so yeah, well, Sham and I, we've been off and on been playing together for 4 decades now, so it's been a while.
Oh, that's incredible. So is the old guitarist, is he playing Crocodile Dundee now? He said he's out in the bush.
Actually, a little bit. He's on a dingo sort of what do they call it? Recovery habitat type place.
Okay.
Looking after dingoes and stuff. So a little bit of the Crocodile Dundee happening. Yeah, a bit.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Now, John had circled back because he's been really pushing this album. The album came out on the 16th of July.
Mm-hmm.
And I pressed play on the media stream for it. And the first song, Final Crime, I was just like, my ears just went, dude, this is like, it was almost like I went back to the 80s in a way, because it's such old school thrash. It's like, and it was just like my ears perked up and I was like, and then I had to go back and I had to restart the song, because it's like, it's one of those times when you don't feel like you appreciated the song enough. So I went back and started it over again, because it's like, okay, now I'm just going to focus and pay attention to it, give the song its due. And then I just sat there and listened to the whole album, didn't do anything.
Yeah, well, look, I appreciate that's great. I'm glad it had a good reaction. Yeah, the first song is actually an 80s track. It was from the late 80s.
Okay.
Yeah, we'd written it back then, which is probably why it sounds a bit 80s, because it is. We wrote it and recorded it for an album that never got released. We never finished the album, the recording. The sessions never got done, and it's been sitting on a shelf for years and years and years. And it's always been a song we've really enjoyed. We used to play it a lot live. So yeah, it just felt right to bring that one back and sort of launch the album with it. So it is a bit of a throwback. It is an old track as in terms of the writing,
right?
But still, it's a track that we feel comfortable with. It really is the sort of stuff we like to play, and like it's still a mainstay of our. Whenever we play live, that track's always in the set. So So yeah, it was good. It was good to finally get it released.
I
Took a
bet
while.
after all this time. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a long process.
And then the next song, Virus, these are both singles from the album. People can check them out on YouTube, the videos, and I'll include them in the article so they can check out your stuff. But 228 of the song, I like the bridge that you guys do. It just kind of switches and just does that little bridge, and I thought that was such a cool little switch there in the song. It just
Yeah,
it
that
just
song
plays
was
out.
mostly written by the guitarist George. It's mostly his riffs. I mean, we tend to write songs whichever way we write them. Sometimes there's one main songwriter, sometimes it's very much a collaboration or whatever. And
Right.
that one is mostly George. He wrote probably, I don't know, 90% or something. But he just has, that's one of George's little things. He loves to get to the middle of the song and just kind of just move off for a second, just take a moment and go in a different direction. You know, it's very much the way he kind of approaches his writing, and it works really well. I like it.
Well, yeah, because old school jazz does that. It'll switch off and go somewhere else and then come back.
Mm.
But I like that. I like the way it played out, and then you guys come back, and even
Oh, thank you.
Killing You has awesome riffs in that. The riffs in that are just fantastic. Like,
Yeah, well, thank you. That's one of the things that, I mean, because the album actually has taken a while, because we had some lineup issues again. We had both a guitarist and a singer that have departed in the last 3 or 4 years.
right,
And it's like the songwriting started in about 2015, probably 2016. But every step forward was followed by a step back. So it has taken 3 or 4 years to get it finished. But a lot of the riffs, there was a lot of ideas thrown around. We had about 15 songs, and then we cut them back to the ones we felt worked best. But yeah, I loved a lot of the riffs. Some of the stuff, some of the riffs in particular really kick along. They're great.
well,
We try to work on that.
you're pretty solid on the bass too. We got to.
Thank you.
And even James is your new singer.
Mhm.
For me, he kind of gives that Mike Howe, Metal Church. He kind of gives that Mike Howe kind of vibe for me anyway. Because
Yeah,
I was listening to his vocal style, and I'm like, geez, that's kind of like Mike Howe. Unfortunately, we lost him this year. He passed.
yeah, no, crazy. Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. But
Yeah, no, we found. Oh,
Go
sorry.
ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no. Time delay. Yeah, we had the previous singer Chris that was with us when we went to Japan and stuff. The couple of live clips on the internet and stuff with Chris singing. Chris is a fantastic vocalist, but it just as we tried to move from the initial work into recording and writing, it was not really coming together the way we wanted it to. And so in the end, we decided to go in a different direction. And James is a very different kind of singer to Chris.
Right.
But we felt that he would kind of fit in for what we were trying to do with this album. And I think it has worked like that. He's given us that, just gave us a bit of a different sound. We were going a little, because Chris had such a strong voice, such a powerful voice, that it was taken as a little bit power metal-y, a little bit more that way than we probably wanted to go, just because of his vocal style and how he sings and what he can do. So James was sort of a bit more earthy, a bit more centered. We felt it kind of moved us back a little bit more to what we wanted to be. So
Right.
we felt it was a good mix. It worked out well for the album.
So with COVID and everything, how did you oh, what's the word I'm looking for? How did you search for new band members? Like, or was this prior to everything happening with COVID?
It was prior to COVID. So we probably found James in 2018.
Oh, okay.
Or early 2019, perhaps. But then we had to go through the usual process of just, the jamming and rehearsing and then try to feel each other out and make sure it's going to work and stuff like that. And then start the process of starting to write some songs and throw some ideas around. And so, we probably had most of the album written and finished in early 2020. And we'd begun some recording. We'd done some tracks, some backing tracks and stuff. But yeah, it was really, the COVID lockdown really just meant we had no choice but to finish the recording because there's not much else to do.
Yeah,
Which was
exactly.
good. Which was good. You know, it got us focused. I think we were focused anyway, but it just gave us that extra little bit of push because there was no alternatives, nothing else to get to sidetrack by. So, but no, he came on board in about 2019, I think, early 2019. So yeah, it was before COVID was around. So yeah, it was just the usual process. We got put out a few contacts, got a few people contact us, and we were getting people to try and sing over some of the backing tracks, just give them us an idea of how they would write.
Right.
So we'd throw them a backing track and say, look, write whatever you want. Write whatever you want and send it back to us. And that was kind of how we did the preliminary auditions for looking at vocalists. We just get them to, because we were really keen to get a songwriter. So we threw them backing tracks and said, it's an open slather, do what you want on it, send it back to us, and then we'll get back to you. You know, and James is the one we ended up going with, which is good.
Nice. Yeah, because he's great. He's like I said, he's got that old school metal vocal style, and it's clean vocal. Like you can totally understand what he's saying and stuff. And
yeah, that probably just reflects our age. You know, yeah, when we were playing around, we're only just on the very edge at the beginnings of all the grunting and growling and everything else that's come since then. And I'm fine with a lot of that. I listen to a lot of bands and a lot of different vocalists, but you know, for myself, I always prefer a cleaner vocal. Although some of the bands I listen to now are definitely not that.
yeah,
So I'm not biased one way or the other, overly, but yeah, it's just a personal preference. I find it better. I like it more. Works for me and the rest of the band, I think.
So when recording the album, you guys had to do all your tracks separately, and then you had them mixed, or like you said, a lot of the tracks were already, some of the ground tracks were already laid down.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. We'd started off doing some rough tracking back in, I don't know, 2017 or something, and then that all kind of ground to a halt because of various things. But the idea was, especially for the bass and drums, Sham and I wanted to, like we did back in the 80s, we wanted to go back to a studio and just do the bass and drums live. Yeah, obviously with the occasional overdub to make up for fumbling fingers, but we wanted to go back and do it kind of live, and then maybe take the guitars from there and then the vocals. But before we could sort of get that, and that was where we were aiming, we were working towards that, but before we could do it, COVID arrived and we had to change plans. So it ended up being pretty much everything done separately, individually at homes. Occasionally, as the occasional lockdown would end for a couple of weeks or a month, we might get together at, a lot of us done at Sham's in his house. He's got a studio set up in a room there.
Oh, nice.
So we would go into that, basically his own little private studio now. It wasn't really what he was probably trying to do when he started, but as we were needing it and COVID pushed things along, it kind of grew into be a pretty effective studio. So we did a lot of it. Sometimes there, people going over to his there and recording in that personal studio, or just recording individually and swapping tracks over the internet. So it was not what we'd planned, but it ended up what we had to do. And it worked out okay. I mean, we're not unhappy with the end result. I don't think it really killed anything, but yeah, we were going to do it more old school. It's that word again. In the end, it didn't happen that way, though. Yeah.
Well, we are both old school. I don't know how old you are. I'm 55, so you know.
I'm 32.
Oh, okay, yeah. You look it too, yeah.
Oh no! The other day I figured out that from the first time I had it, the first rehearsal I remember having with Sham when we first. Yeah, I moved to the city to try and join a band when I was fairly young, and found a bunch of people. And these guys, Sham and another guitarist, were looking for a bass player to get a project off the ground, and that was 39 years ago. So
wow,
it's been a while.
And you're still 32, so you started really young.
That's right. That's right. I know. Time travel's very handy.
Yeah. Yeah, what do you think of the scene today? Like, like the music scene. It's different now because of COVID, but
Yeah. Look, the Australian scene has never been, yeah, metal here has never been very, yeah, overseas acts always do well here. I mean, Australians will pay enormous amounts of money to go see international bands.
yeah,
You know, every
and
time Metallica turn up here, they sell out, and they sell out as many nights as they want, really. There's no problem with big bands. And not just Metallica, there's plenty of other bands that come here and do really well. The local scene is very different. It was definitely, the metal scene was bigger in the 80s, but Australia's really embraced that kind of, you know, alt metal scene pretty heavily. So you get those bands that are kind of post-hardcore or whatever label you want to put on them.
yeah,
Those bands do quite well here. There's a lot of support for them, and they can play quite well. But traditional, even thrash bands, metal bands, you know, your local crowds are anywhere from, you play a gig, you're talking 50 to 150 is the kind of turnout you're looking at, which is fine. It's great. The crowds always love it. The vibes are always good, but it's not big business. And COVID, of course, has just made that worse. I mean, look,
yes,
all the local venues here are basically fundraising to try and stay alive at the moment because they can't basically turn any money at all.
yeah,
So exactly what it's going to look like in the near future is hard to tell, because a lot of venues are really, they're having to shut their doors. So, you know, developers will just sweep in and turn them into apartment blocks or something.
yeah, exactly.
You know, so I don't know what's going to happen next, really.
Well, there's one guy in Vancouver. He's been quite creative. Mo, he owns the rickshaw in Vancouver on Hastings, and what he's been doing is he's been having live streams of bands. So you pay like $25. Percentage goes to the band, and a percentage goes to the venue. So it helps them keep their doors open.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, people got to use their imagination at the moment. It's just things are different.
Definitely.
So yeah, I don't know. I mean, we had a great time in the 80s. Things were so different here. You know, we could regularly play to, even though we were, you know, even before we'd released any albums, had no label support, no PR companies involved. It was very much just a bunch of, you know, young guys just playing. So it was really very unstructured, unorganized, and we could easily play to 300 or 400 people a night. That wasn't an uncommon crowd. And I think back then we played at a gig here, which was 5 local bands, the annual Metal for Melbourne concert they used to have in the 80s.
Oh, okay.
We headlined the 86 gig, and there was about 1,500 people there.
Oh, wow.
You know, so, you know, and that was just purely just local bands, no industry support, no nothing. You know, just we had 1,500 odd people turning up. So yeah, it was really strong in the 80s. It's not quite that now. It's a bit different.
Yeah, the scene's pretty well the same here. If international bands come here, you know, they can sell out, like Metallica, Megadeth, that sort of thing. Lady Gaga, Elton John, you know. But then it's hard to get people to support the local. Like I'm wearing, I don't know if you can see it, but the band's called Saints of Death. And they're a local Vancouver band. I like to support local music.
Yeah, no, it's great. That's great. I mean, look, there's some young bands around here. I go out, check them out now and then, and some of the local bands here, and even not necessarily the totally young ones. There's bands have been around for 10 or 15 years. Bands that started in the 90s or the 2000s. I go see some of them sometimes. They're amazing bands. The quality of writing, the quality of playing, it's fantastic. There's great local bands. So it's just the way it is. You know, people pay $8 for a coffee, but they don't want to pay $8 to see a local band. And
Right.
it's just the way they think. You know?
Like there was just a local concert here of some local acts, and it was $8 to get in, and you were seeing like 3 different acts that were local. Like you say, it's $8 for a cup of coffee, but you won't pay $8 to go three bands, you know.
Yeah, and then when Metallica were booked to be here, you know, I don't know, 2 years ago or something, around the start of COVID. I think it was the COVID thing that cancelled the tour. But those tickets here were $180, $200 a ticket, in Australian dollars.
Yeah.
And that was for the minimum tickets. If you wanted the, you know, the good tickets, they were the $300, $400, $500 tickets. And they sold out. I had no problem
Yep.
selling out 40, 50,000 of those tickets.
Well,
you
Paul
know.
McCartney's asking like $2,000 and up for floor seats. Like, I'm sorry,
He
but
needs it too, because he's doing pretty, he's struggling, you know,
right.
doing it pretty
Like-
hard. Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, haven't you made enough money?
Well, I often think that. I mean, I suppose maybe if I was in their shoes, I'd think completely differently. Maybe it's all perspective, but I often think, I mean, at some point, don't you just do it for free? I mean, haven't you done enough and you just think, well, I'm just enjoying myself. I'm lucky I get to do this. Why would I make people pay?
I actually heard a wonderful story about Billy Joel. He actually holds on to tickets in the first front rows, the first 2 rows, sorry. And he actually has his roadies go out on the crowd and pick people that might be up in the nosebleeds and bring them down to the front row.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, he doesn't let the scalpers have those tickets at all.
Well, that's a good thing. That's a good thing.
Yeah, you get your
Yeah,
ticket.
there should be more of it.
Yeah, exactly. A bit more gratuity, you know, graciousness. And
Look, I'm not picking on Metallica because I mean they're just lucky enough to have grown that big. So I mean, good luck to them and all that. But
right.
yeah, surely they've grown big enough. I mean, I know touring costs. They've got to cover costs. It's not like tours are free, and they would put together big tours. There'd be a lot of insurance and crews and equipment and everything. So they've got to cover it somehow. But doesn't $20 a ticket cover it? 30, 40? Does it really? Does it have to be 180? I don't know. I shouldn't get into their business. I mean, last time Lars and I were having breakfast, we were talking about this, but.
Well, Eddie Vedder and Pearl Jam, they got away from Live Nation because they said that they were pricing out their tickets too much for the young people that want to go see them.
Yeah, look, I've always got a suspicion that a lot of the ticket pricing isn't really coming from the bands, and maybe not even the band management.
No.
It's the superstructure. There's a lot of people that want to feed at the trough and get their little slice.
Well, that's it. Yeah, because it's like, oh, well, I was there when you guys weren't anything. Where's my cut, sort of thing. And yeah,
I was like, when I was a teenager, this was about 1920, 1922, but I used to go see AC/DC playing at my local high school.
And now you're aging yourself.
Yeah, I know. I used to go see AC. I saw Angus and Bon Scott playing at my local town hall. There was probably 40 or 50 people there.
Wow.
It was great. I loved them then. They were good. Angus was about 14, I think.
Was he wearing the schoolboy outfit then?
Yes, he was. Yes,
it's always been his gimmick, eh?
Yes, well, because I think he was a sports schoolboy. I'm not sure it was a gimmick then. I think he'd probably just come straight from school and went to the gig.
And it kind of stuck.
That's right. It just stuck with it.
Hey, it hasn't hurt his career.
No. Good on. But there's another classic example. I mean, everybody's got to start somewhere. There was a day when they were just playing in the town halls like everyone was.
Well, when Master of Puppets came out, I was living in Kelowna, and a buddy of mine down the street, he loaned me the cassette of Master of Puppets, and I'm like, wow, who are these guys? I hadn't heard them before.
Yeah, I remember hearing Masters the first time. It was pretty impressive. I enjoyed it.
So with tours and everything shut down, you have any plans of maybe doing like a streaming event or anything, or do you have enough requests for that sort of thing, or is that something that's feasible for you guys?
There's nothing like that on the horizon at the moment. We haven't really been talking to anyone about that. To be honest, I'm not even sure there'd be any demand for it. I mean, who knows? There might be, but who knows? But we have got some fairly good contacts in Japan, and we were probably looking to have been there last year even, but COVID. So that was the end of that, and we're still waiting. I mean, once this all calms down, we'll probably revisit that as maybe the first cab off the rank, because that was almost, wasn't booked and locked in, but it was getting close. We were working out some details and pretty sure, just working out which direction we were going to go exactly, because we've got a couple of opportunities. So we'll probably, if and when the government allows us, because Australians aren't allowed to travel overseas at the moment. The government's put a ban on overseas travel.
Yeah.
So as soon as they rescind that, we'll probably start talking seriously about maybe a return to Japan. So that's hopefully going to be whatever, early mid next year. And that's probably the only definite thing we're really pursuing. Beyond that, we just sort of hopefully, when borders open up a bit more, there'll be more opportunities to do stuff. We'll see what happens then. So yeah, we've actually just been jamming a little bit at the moment, writing a few new songs and stuff like that, just kicking some ideas around again, just see where we're at.
Nice.
Yeah, filling in lockdown time, really.
Well, yeah, like you said earlier, there's not much else you can do right now, right?
That's right. I mean, it did take us, whatever it was, 87 to 2001, 2021. A lot. It took us 30 odd years to get 2 albums out. So we're trying to narrow it down, make it less than 30 years between the next one.
That would be nice.
Yeah, no, it would.
Do you think a tour of North America might be feasible? I mean, you got to wait until everything's cleared to, but is that something that you guys would possibly look at?
Oh, look, I'd love to. I'm totally happy to talk to anyone about that. We've just never, for whatever reason, we've had a little bit of interest from Europe. We've spoken to a few people there, and there's contacts and options that we need to just, explore a little further and go a little bit further with. And like I said, Japan and even some other parts of, Southeast Asia and stuff. The Philippines has come up a couple of times, or Indonesia. There's options.
Oh, wow.
But for some reason, nothing ever really seems to come out of North America. Huh. I don't know. We don't seem to have many contacts there, and not many people seem to reach out to us. So it's not really on the horizon at the moment. But look, if that changed in 2 minutes, I'd be fine with that. I'd be happy to play 70,000 tons of metal. They don't have to twist my arm too hard.
Yeah, that'd be quite the event for you guys to be on, eh?
Oh, that'd be great. I mean, assuming there ever will be another one.
Right? Yeah, I know. With everything going on, everything is, like you said earlier, like there's so many venues, clubs and everything. What does that put for the future of a cruise like that? The Kiss cruise, Kiss had their own cruise as well, and
yeah, exactly. So I mean, I don't understand why America's a bit quiet, but we just don't seem to have there's not a lot of vibe happening there overly much. I'd be happy to go to Canada. I'm fine with that.
We'd love to have you up here.
Long ago, I had to go to Canada for work once with my job, and I was in Toronto for about 3 days, and I was in the hotel after work, and I just had a look at the local gig guide in the newspaper or something, and there was this band called Gwar, who I'd never heard of, and they were literally playing like next door to the hotel I was staying in.
Yeah.
So I thought, yeah, okay, they look pretty cool. So I went out the front door, down the road into the Gwar gig. That was good. That was good. Very funny, but it was good.
You got to see the original Gwar, not with I forget his name.
Yeah, no. Well, the strange thing about this night was apparently their half their gear got stuck in customs or something coming up over the border.
Oh no!
So only half of them were in costume.
That must have been awkward.
So it was a bit weird. The guitarists were in full on gear, but the singer, what was his name again? Oh, how could I forget him? Whatever.
Yeah.
He was basically just in a loincloth, I think. Especially nothing else.
That sounds like something he would do. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, it was good. I really enjoyed that. That it was a good night. So yeah, I'll be happy to go back to Toronto anytime or Vancouver. Yeah,
Yeah,
no
we'd
problem
love to
there.
have you in Vancouver.
Yeah, well, we'll work on it.
Okay, sounds like a plan. Is there anything else you'd like to add at all, Karl?
Well, look, just I'm always really glad that we finally got a second album out, because I mean it's been around for so long in our heads, and it has been a long and strange journey in many ways, but we're doing really good at the moment. We're enjoying what we're doing, and it's really good to get this album out, and we're happy to look for another one. And look, I just hope that people can find something in it they like. I mean, the feedback has generally been positive, well, pretty much overall positive. It's an old school thing, but then you can't escape who you are. I mean, I can't really pretend to be 19
No,
because I'm not. So
just 32.
so,
Just 32.
yeah, that's right, 32. That's right. But yeah, so we're doing what we're enjoying, and I think people are enjoying it. We're getting a pretty, like I said, the feedback's been really solidly positive. So it gives us a lot of confidence to want to keep pushing on. I just hope people can enjoy it. I mean, what we do is we do it for ourselves, but hopefully we do it for others to enjoy as well. So that's where we hope we're at, and seems like we are at the moment. So we just want to do more. Yeah.
Well, I can only speak for myself. I enjoyed every track from beginning to end. And these days, it's kind of hard to find that in music, because I get a lot of music sent my way. And when an album speaks to you like that, it's like, yeah, these guys are solid. I'm gonna have to get a copy of the album, and probably one of your shirts too.
Sham, the drummer, he does all the graphics work as well. He designed the new shirt and everything.
Yeah.
We've got two new shirts. He does all our t-shirt designs, and he did the artwork, and he mixed the album, did the production, played the drums, wrote some of the songs.
Oh,
a bit of an all-round
guy.
He's a bit of an all-rounder, and he's good at all of it too. That's the annoying thing about him. He's good at everything.
Well,
yeah.
I'm a drummer myself, so I could
Okay.
totally appreciate what he was doing on the drums. I've been drumming off and on since I was about 12, so I can totally appreciate what he was doing.
Oh, cool. Yeah, he's always been a great drummer. I mean, way back when we first started, I mean, he was probably the best muso in the band by a fair way, and he was also the youngest. I think when I started jamming with him, he was only 16, maybe.
Oh wow!
Can't really remember exactly, but it was a while ago. But he was young, and he was already the best guy in the band, the best muso. So he just continued on in the same vein, really.
Just a few years later. I mean, you're just 32, so.
That's right. That's right. I may live to regret that line.
I'm sorry for bringing it up again.
I'm sure I'm going to have a few people here who will remind me of how inaccurate that statement truly is.
Oh, you got people in the background listening?
No, not here, but I'm sure my daughter will probably end up seeing this somewhere along the line. She likes to remind me that I'm not 32.
Kids have a tendency to do that.
In fact, she's closing in on 32. Not really, but she's getting up there a little bit. But so she's going to give me hell for that comment. Now that I think about it.
That's okay. We don't know who she is.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it, and I'm appreciative of the music, and I'm grateful for you and for John setting this up, and all the best and the guys, and hopefully we can see you in North America sometime in the future.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you taking the time to talk to us. And yeah, I'd love to see us get over. And like I said, I've actually been to Vancouver once for one day or something. I don't remember much about it. It was a long while ago. But I'd love to get back, and yeah, go to a place like that and play would be fantastic. I'm already signed up, so if we can sort that out, I'm up for it.
Awesome. Well, we'll just have to get rid of this COVID thing, and then maybe that'll be something for the future. Yeah. And look, thank you for your support. Okay, we appreciate all the time that people take to check us out, give us a listen, talk to us, whatever. So I appreciate it. We do this, like I said, we do this because we like it, but it's always good to try and share it with people and see if other people like it too. So
it's good to get some
Yeah.
feedback. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. I think it's great.
Cool.
Keep rocking, and I'll be jamming or cranking this one up like I was earlier. And
That's right. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Thanks very much, Anthony. I appreciate it.
thanks, Carl. Take care. All the
Okay.
best.
No worries. We'll see you soon.
You bet. Enjoy your day.
Bye. Thank you.